Hello, everyone. My name is Mindy Babarskis, and I am the Michigan Collection Librarian here at the Library of Michigan. And I'm so excited today to be talking to our second poet laureate for the state, Nandi Comer. She is only the second selected poet laureate for the state of Michigan. The most recent, which is crazy, was Edgar Guest, who was a poet laureate from 1952 to 1959. So it has been a while. And we are so excited to be talking to you today. We're also just excited for you. This is such an amazing opportunity. And we can't wait to learn more about you and where the Poet Laureate program will be going. So we'll just dive right in.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, now that you've completed your first couple weeks as Poet Laureate, I know, so long in the position. What has been the most exciting part of this beginning period as the Poet Laureate?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I underestimated our community and how excited our community would be, but just the outpouring of joy and congratulations and meeting. I mean, in the first couple of weeks, I've met so many people, so many lovers of poetry, but there is like this, there are these particular moments where I've gotten an email or I get someone that pulls me aside and says, I read one of your poems since the announcement, and they just really enjoyed the work, or they're really excited about what I'm going to do. So those individual conversations have just been so great. And also just, I mean, what poet wouldn't want to know that there are so many lovers of poetry in their own state? So it's been really great from everyone. Everyone has just been really celebratory, and I love it. It's been great.
That's wonderful. That makes me so happy to hear too. And, you know, what are you most looking forward to? You know, you started this process, but what's the thing that you're most looking forward to for your tenure as Poet Laureate?
I am looking forward to seeing more of Michigan. I was born and raised in Michigan. I was born in Kalamazoo and I was raised in Detroit. I've been all over the Lower Peninsula, but this is an opportunity for me to get to know the Upper Peninsula, for example. I'm really excited to see Michigan's libraries because I grew up going in and out of Detroit libraries and Wayne State's libraries. So I'm really excited to see what those different spaces look like. I think more than anything, I am really excited to get to know Michigan's poets more as well. Like, I have some favorite Michigan poets. They're people that I read and I love, but also I know that there are so many more, and I can't wait to meet them.
It's so exciting. Yeah, there's a whole two peninsulas worth of poets.
Yeah.
So many to learn and to know about. That's exciting. You know, why do you think the position of Michigan Poet Laureate is so important to the state?
I think it's really important because I think that the world knows what kind of poetry Michigan produces. The world has been recognizing it on a national and international scale for a while now. Like, we definitely are claiming our space in American letters. But I don't think Michigan is aware of it. And so I think that it's time for us to have that this position can be a really great opportunity for us to really have someone help advocate for Michigan poetry, help to also spread the word about Michigan poetry, someone that really fosters our celebration of Michigan letters.
I love that. I think it's so true. We don't know what we got.
No, I don't think so.
I would say, even in my position as Michigan Collection Librarian, you know, I've only been in this role a couple of years, but I've discovered so much Michigan poetry that I was like, this is from Michigan? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for that, you know.
But when I go other places, people are talking about us. They're asking about us. They're like, what's happening? What's in that Great Lakes water? Because y'all are just putting out work that is amazing. And maybe that's also a thing that Michigan needs to know, is that if they do know about our poets, that they should know how important they are to the rest of the world as well.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, love that. I mean, now we're talking about, Michigan poetry and being so good, but how did you get your start in poetry? And how has the importance of poetry really changed for you as you've grown?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot about all the journals that I wrote when I was a kid. I was a big time journaler, a diary at the time when I was a kid, but I don't think I knew that they were necessarily poems until I went to high school. And two poets really changed the way that I could see my own writing. One was my high school teacher, Terry Blackhawk, who brought me into one of her classrooms. Taught she taught poetry as a way to learn literature. And she would bring professional poets in to visit her classroom. And that was just really an amazing thing because I got to meet professional poets. And I also got to see folks that wrote in a contemporary language that I didn't know poetry could be. Mm-hmm. I always thought of it as like pretty dated, that no one was really alive that were famous poets. And so she really changed that for me. But then one summer in high school, I had an opportunity to do a summer youth arts employment program, and they put me in the artist department where we were writers, writing scripts and writing poems. And we were led by another poet named Vivi Francis, who, well, in this story will also help to understand how poetry changed for me, because in high school, she really challenged me to think outside of what I thought poetry was and to really identify my voice and to insert my voice into poetry. Whereas I thought beforehand, like there was a poetic voice that we had to write in order for it to be poetry. And she was like, no, you have a voice and it is a poetic voice. So I want you to write from it. So that really changed the way that I thought poetry could be. And later on, she became a very important mentor to me as I started to professionalize myself as a young adult. So she was a part of two kind of big phases and changes in poetry, where I went from writing poems in my journal and sometimes sharing them with people to deciding, oh, I would really like to professionalize myself. I want to actually publish a book. And she was really helpful and influential in helping me understand the difference between writing and then actually producing work for others to read.
That's really cool. I love that. You have a poetic voice, not you have to write in a poetic voice. That's powerful. I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is good too for kind of our next question of, for a newcomer to poetry, who they're trying to find their poetic voice, what advice do you have?
One, I think that to not give up. Don't give up in your reading or your writing. It will come. Because I believe that there is a poem for everyone. I believe that the sports fan, there are so many basketball, football, boxing. One of my favorite collections is centered around boxing. For the lumberjack, there are poems for them. And so I think that if you haven't developed a love for poetry, my theory is that you haven't been introduced to the right poem yet. Mm-hmm. So I would say, don't give up. It's okay to say, I don't like this poem. It's okay, but it's not okay to say I don't like poetry, because I think I can find a poem for you. And then if you're writing poetry, I think connected to that is to read as much poetry as possible. Find inspiration in writing that already exists while not compromising your own voice. And your poetry will only get better and will only get stronger. And because art is hard. Art is not supposed to be easy. You can talk to any professional artist and they will tell you it takes a lot of work to produce what we're doing. And so I really think that poets need, young poets or even just people just starting out, doesn't have to be young. Even if you're in your 50s and you want to take up poetry, don't give up. Really work on it. Give it the time and care that this kind of practice really needs.
Yeah, I love that. Art is work.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people, they see the finished product and they don't necessarily know all of the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the production of that.
Yeah, I heard a writer say that it took him 14 years to write a novel, his first novel. And he's a New York Times bestseller. That novel became a New York Times bestseller. So I think that we think that because it's so easy for us to read it, that it should take that little amount of time to write it. But actually, you're looking at, when you get a collection of poems, a novel, an essay, that is probably a good chunk of time that a writer spent with that work.
Yeah. Maybe even 14 years.
Maybe even 14 years. Yeah.
Hopefully not, right? Like, I don't want that to be my case. Oh, man. And I guess, we're talking about poetry, but what do you want people to know about you?
I want them to know that I really do love all kinds of things, and that while they may see me as like the poet laureate, that I really love like everyday things. I like coney dogs. I like to DJ parties. I love reading poetry, but I am not stuffy about it. I think that I want to break that stereotype of the poet that stays at home and only wants to be by themselves and wants to like, dive into a depressive mood and just write work. Like that isn't necessarily, yes, I get that way sometimes, but that is not me all the time. And so I want them to know that I am really led by the joy of this work, and that maybe we don't have to talk about poetry. Maybe we can talk about, the Beyonce album. I'd totally be down to do that too.
I mean, who wouldn't? I love it. Well, it was so great to talk with you. My last question for you, which I have to give credit to Shelley Irwin at WGVSU for this question. What are you currently reading?
Oh, what am I currently reading? Yes. So I'm always reading a book of poetry. I open my day every day reading at least one poem, because it gives me a moment to walk into the day with a cup of coffee and hear language. And so I mentioned Vivi Francis. I am reading her most recent collection, The Shared World, which is it's just beautiful. It's really beautiful work. But I also try to end my day reading as well, but I choose to read prose in the evening. After I usually am a little tired, so I like to read prose. And I'm actually reading another Michigander. So Vivi Francis although she was born in Texas, she spent a lot of time here in Michigan. So I consider her a Michigan poet.
Absolutely.
But also another writer, Megan Giddings, who is a Michigan novelist. And her second novel came out, was it early? I think it was last year that it came out, The Women That Could Fly. And The Women Could Fly. I'm really excited about getting through that novel. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, she's an excellent writer. So I was like, great choice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, it was so wonderful to talk with you and just get to learn a little bit about you and about poetry. And I mean, I feel inspired, and I'm like, I want to go read poetry right now too. So I hope everyone else does as well. And we just look forward to, future conversations with you and more opportunities to get to see you out and about during your tenure. So thank you, and congratulations on being Poet Laureate, Nandi.
Congratulations to you too for helping to spearhead this program. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a blast. So much. Well, I look forward to talking to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.